Okay, welcome to the August 11th, 2022 Racial Equity and Policing Commission meeting. I'm Chair Nicole Salazar Hall. I'd like to welcome everybody. Do I need to read the COVID guidelines that we're doing this hybrid, Moana?
No, they said that by ordinance it's not necessary.
Fantastic. All right, so of course, this is an open public meeting. We have the agenda, of course. We don't have enough members for quorum just yet, so we'll hold off on making any decisions or votes. But right now is the next item on the agenda after welcome is the open dialogue. So does anyone have any topic or issue they would like to discuss during this open dialogue session? Because I think I got one. Go ahead.
I did attend the, what did you invite us to? The chief and the kids? The
Promising
at Jordan
Youth
Park?
program.
Oh, yeah, that was amazing. Those kids were so cute and excited, and the parents were very grateful. So that was neat to show up. Reverend Davis and I were there, so. Yeah.
You go in the boat?
Yeah. So that was a neat thing to attend. And that's all I know. Oh, yeah, that's all I know.
I'm glad you're able to attend. That looked like a really fun event, and it's such a good program. I'm so excited about it. I mean, there's one that I know that's most recently in the news, and I'm sure everyone's heard about it. The stabbing victim, Ryan Outlaw, and his interaction with Salt Lake City Police Department. So I don't know a whole lot about this. I've avoided watching any YouTube videos just because those kind of disturb me. So I don't like watching body cam footage if I don't have to. I have before, but I really don't like it. I don't know if anybody else has seen it and has any opinions, questions. Yes, Commissioner McDonald.
Are we talking about the recent stabbing video?
The reopening of the investigation, yeah.
Okay. Is that what this call is?
No, it's just open public, open comment, open dialogue time. I know it's something that's been brought to my attention on the Human Rights Commission, and questions have been asked. Information has been shared, no decisions, of course, but information has been shared among several of the commissioners on the Human Rights Commission about that and what possibly the Human Rights Commission should or could do, if there's an opinion on that.
So someone did reach out to me about it, and I declined to comment simply because we have not discussed it and we haven't heard anything. So, and I haven't seen any statements by or the mayor regarding it. So I have not commented publicly as a private citizen or a person running for our office or as a person who is part of the commission. I am very disturbed by it. Like you, Nicole, my heart just, I can't take it anymore. I read the story. I have declined for my own self-care to not watch the video because it is just, it's too traumatizing. I can't do it right now. And that's just to be in the straight up honest truth. I just can't. But it doesn't mean that there needs to be some explanation about it. And there needs to be a discussion about it. And we deserve, it has been radio silence. And it can't be swept under the rug. So that's my take on it. And I will hand the floor back to you, Nicole.
Wait, what happened?
This is regarding the citizen who was stabbed and didn't receive medical treatment from the officer that was on scene.
Yes.
And this took
Two officers on scene.
There were 2 officers on scene.
I believe so. I think there were 2 officers.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
I believe this was last week.
Year, I thought it was last.
Oh,
wasn't
it was last year. It was,
Last year.
yeah, it was about a year ago, but the body cam footage was released, I believe, last week.
Week, right?
So it reopened, well, I would say the case was reopened because of that, but the discussion that we are having now is because of body cam footage being released. I personally had not heard of the case prior to body cam footage being released. And that's when I heard about what happened.
Did the citizen die?
Yes, he died. From injuries to this, caused by the stab wound.
So the officers could have helped him and he could have lived?
No, the officers refused to administer first, what is it, first,
Responder.
yeah,
first aid?
yeah, they didn't compress the wound as what is customary for if you have a stabbing victim, you try to stop the bleeding. You know, most of what people do. There was none of that even though they received training to administer that first care. Yeah.
But do we know, what was it released at? Or do we know if he was the perpetrator or he was the victim?
He was the victim, his girlfriend, it was a domestic violence incident. You're on mute, Nicole. And it was a domestic violence incident. His girlfriend stabbed him. I believe she got time for it. I think I read that, maybe. It's irrelevant to this case. But she admitted to stabbing him. She admitted that she was the one that stabbed him. And she even tried to get the officer on the scene to administer care to the stabbing victim, but they didn't. And he was there for a certain amount of time. I forget how much time there was before the EMTs arrived to administer care, get him to the hospital, but he died from the injuries.
That's a sad case.
That is.
That's a sad.
Oh.
And you said you're on the side of he should have been treated.
Yeah, he should have been treated on the scene. He was not apparently treated by the officers, the first responders that arrived there. Whether or not they would have been able to save his life, probably not. I don't know what the internal injuries from the stab wounds were. They may not have been able to save his life, but there was no effort given to do so. So that's where the conversation must begin as to why they did not administer care immediately once they realized they had a stabbing victim. That's the conversation.
Was this a person of color?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Oh, person of color. I was just. Okay.
Person of color.
Okay.
And
I mean, to be on the right side of that, to be on the right side of humanity, I would think. I mean, even in the worst case scenario, even if he was the perpetrator, he still should have received some type of care, or
Oh, yeah.
someone should have assisted.
I agree.
the first aid is the word I couldn't get out of it now. Yeah, they did not administer first aid and I guess that's part of the training that they should, but it didn't happen. And I don't know if it got written up differently from what actually was revealed on the body cam. I didn't get into the story that far, so I don't know that part, but that is a question that I would like to ask. But I personally, I have not responded to it publicly at all because I don't have enough information and I don't want to just go on my own emotional response. And I haven't seen the video because I just can't take it right now.
I agree. I don't have enough information to really weigh in. And it's unfortunate we don't have anybody from Salt Lake PD here today.
I think the deputy.
Do we?
We We have
Is he
DC
on?
Purvis. I don't think he can respond to that, and I wouldn't want to put him in that position.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we can ask what part, how much do officers get first aid training or any kind of training to that nature?
Is that to me?
Yes.
I'm gonna hold off on answering any questions about that particular situation because it's under investigation.
Okay.
And the investigators have way more information on it than I do. But eventually there'll be a full file released on it.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, and I don't want to have you step out of line.
It wouldn't be fair to put you on the spot like that.
No, no.
But
Mm-mm.
yeah, it's gonna come up, the public. I'm surprised there haven't been more of an uproar, to be totally honest about it. I'm
I
very
am too.
surprised.
There are a bunch of people who have commented on it, but yeah, I haven't read enough or gotten enough of the facts to really know what's going on. And I can say that the optics are not good.
Optics are not good. The fact that only one person had reached out to me about this is really kind of surprising as well.
Mhm.
But I don't know how long we can be silent. I don't know if people are just exhausted and just saying not again, not again. I don't know what's going on, but we can't just hope that people just tired and will forget about it. We need to find out what in the world happened and why, and yeah, I'm gonna say that it doesn't happen again, but it's I don't know how the ball got dropped on that. That's all I gotta say. I don't know how the ball got dropped on. And the man
I
died.
can't wait to hear the rest of the rest of the circumstances surrounding the incident. So.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I'd like to see what the investigation yields for sure. Any other open dialogue? Any issues, comments? Okay, hearing none, and I'm sure Moana, Chief Brown would be in contact with us to answer any questions and after the investigation's complete.
Yeah, I will, let him know our notes for today as well, and DC Purvis is here as well to relay that information, but even from our office, we're just awaiting, for the investigation, so if the mayor doesn't have any, comment on that this time.
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely perfect. When the investigation is complete is when I would expect to hear something. Do we have any public comment?
There isn't any, present today.
Okay, and we'll skip the approval and adoption of meeting minutes until if we have quorum, so we'll see if we do. Chief update.
Deputy Chief Purvis, if you have any updates from the chief?
I do not. I'm representing the chief tonight because he has a conflict, but I'm here to answer questions. Obviously, aside from the question I was just asked. But I'm here to provide any information that I can or be any help that I can. So I don't have an update for you.
Okay, any questions for DC Purvis, anybody?
I have a question. So I'm sure the chief is very much aware of what's happening in our political environment, especially around the former president and what happened at the federal building in Cincinnati. So I have family in Cincinnati, so I had to make phone calls to make sure we didn't have people at the FBI building, which is housed inside the federal building in Cincinnati, with the guy go shooting people up. Okay, go shooting up. What is, I just want to make sure that we are aware and have our eyes open and prepared for anything, especially when it comes to violence that could happen to members of law enforcement, works for the FBI, and members of law enforcement, because the target is everywhere, anyone and everywhere. And right now, the men in blue that was for the FBI are the target. And are we taking these national threats serious?
Yes, we absolutely are. We have a number of different intelligence sources, then we share information both with our federal partners and with other similarly placed municipal police departments across the country. We scan for any sort of social media intelligence, any sort of rumblings out there, and we monitor it on a regular basis. If we have anything that looks at all suspicious, we follow it up and we start by warning the people that would be directly affected by it. So we are taking it seriously. We are monitoring, and we're working in partnership with our federal partners.
Okay, that's good to know. It's just, it seems too much of this gets not be taken serious, and the biggest fear is that somebody's gonna get hurt. And we don't want that to happen. Nobody wants to get hurt. I don't want to get hurt. And I don't want our law enforcement officers to get hurt either, even though we don't care. We do. We absolutely do. I have family and friends in law enforcement, and I want them to be able to make it home to their family as well. So I do hope that we, and I take you at your word that we are scanning and making sure that we identify the threats and take action when they present themselves. So I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Mute button, you'd think I'd learn after all this time. I don't. Thank you, DC. I do appreciate your time. Do you have any other questions for our dear resident DC Purvis? No, okay. Okay, next on the agenda is Detective Dorothy Rose Hadlock. Is she here?
She's running a little bit late and will be on, as soon as she can, so maybe.
Perfect.
we can
That
move
is
to the
great.
next item.
Oh, you know what? I do have a question for DC Purvis that I just thought of. I'm so sorry. What is the status of hiring with you guys?
We have recently, or we are in the process right now of hiring 10 lateral hires. We have 21 that we recently hired, new entry-level recruits that are in our police academy. And we are in the process of hiring another group of similar size that will start in September. And then we'll attempt to do the same thing in January.
Okay. So where does that put you guys with any shortages?
Well, last number I heard, we're still down by 51 vacant positions. And so that will essentially break us even, provided we don't have any more attrition in the meantime, but that's not likely.
Mhm.
So we're at the best right now is breaking even.
Okay. How about, do you know where they're at with SROs?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Do you know where you guys are at with SROs?
Yeah, we have our regular contingent of SROs is prepared to start school the next week or two. And then we have recently reached out to the department for interest for transfer to SRO. So we're gonna be doing interviews for those positions.
Fantastic. Okay. And for those people who want to transfer over, are there any plans to involve parents, students, members of this commission, school people in the hiring of those SROs or transfer of SROs, not necessarily for that they approve specifically, but to provide input on the various officers who are interested in transferring over to the SRO program?
We haven't done that, but we can certainly look at a plan to be able to do that.
Please do, that would be great. And I know that that's going to be a bit tricky with the parents, students kind of piece, because it very well could be that that parents from East High respond and have input, but then the SRO never touches East High ever. And maybe hangs out at Clayton or Highland instead. But whatever we can do to get parents, students, members of this commission, school personnel, get their input on various potential candidates would be perfect.
I think it presents some challenges, but it's not impossible.
Yeah, that'd be great. Please let us know. Of course, Tanya and I, I'm sure we'd be willing to jump in and help. And anyone on this committee would love to help, I'm sure, as much as the schedules can allow for it.
Sure. I think we're probably a few weeks away from beginning anything like that, but I'll let you know.
That's perfect, because trial season ends here pretty soon for me.
Great.
I'm in the middle of it right now. All right, thank you. Sorry about that. You thought you were off the hook, and then I dragged you right back in.
No problem.
Okay, well, let's skip Detective Hadlock for now, and let's go on to the draft report update.
All right, that is me. So over the last month while we were in recess, I was just trying to collect all of the work that we've done this year and put it into one form so that eventually we'll be sharing this with the city council and the mayor. I'll provide a timeline within what I'm sharing so then you can have. And Chair, can you just let me know if I miss when Detective Hadlock hops on? Then we can, I think I'll be done before she hops on. Just in case. So this is just a draft, letting you all know, but I will be presenting to the mayor and the city council, and then there will also be a written form similar to what we had for the phase 1. But I wanted to give a visual since sometimes we sit here and talk in the meetings, and I just wanted to provide it.
When will you be presenting this?
Not until December, and I will have,
Okay.
we'll have gone through some drafts with.
Okay.
This is not the
I just
final,
wanted
this
to
is just what
definitely-
I've been doing during the month of July while we've been in recess with
Okay.
you all. So I just am doing this in terms of outfacing. So whoever doesn't have their photos, I will be contacting you so I can put you up on here. This is just, I'm giving background of the REP so that everyone who will be listening can have that information. And then I wanted to quickly go through this just as a reminder for everyone. I know it's been a while since we revisited the ordinance and what the commission's responsibilities and expectations are. So the reason why I will have to present to the mayor and the city council is part of this is we'll have to share what our finding, what the commission's findings were in terms of the very first thing which the commission needs to do is to look at SLCPD's policies, culture, budget, and make recommendations to the mayor and city council. Also engage and interact with the public to receive community input related to SLCPD policies, culture, and budget. And that's tying in what Detective Hadlock, who just recently came on to SLCPD, she'll introduce herself. We'll be doing more of that as now a lot of the restrictions are no longer there, and they will, SLCPD will be reconvening a lot of their community meetings. And so the other things we've been doing within the subcommittees, such as evaluating and studying national best practices, policies, and policing. And then, as you can see, making more recommendations on diversity. The part that I want to just make sure is, the reason why we have to do this earlier on before December is, in the ordinance, it says before finalizing recommendations to the mayor and the city council, the commission needs to make those recommendations known to the Human Rights Commission. And then the Human Rights Commission will review it and say if we are in support or opposition of the collected recommendations. So different from what you all did in phase one before you were codified as a commission. We'll have that connectivity with the Human Rights Commission. And Chair Salazar is a representative and overlaps on the Human Rights Commission as well as Commissioner Benuri. So I'm just doing this in terms of as the equity manager that I am in compliance with the ordinance. And so, yes, that's the reason why we're doing this so early on in the year. And then, of course, just attending meetings, and then that kind of outlines what I'm supposed to be doing. The overview for just the life of the commission here, it seems like we've been meeting for a long time, but all of this only started a year, 2 years ago exactly now, in August of 2020. You all were here, I wasn't here, but you were established. And then in June of 2021, that phase one report was published. And then in September, the city council codified the REP 15-member commission as it stands today. And then, of course, in December 2021, when I was here, SLCPD provided the phase one response and published it. And so now this will be the first annual report given in compliance with the ordinance that the city council created for the Racial Equity and Policing Commission. So phase two, or the phase two was just beginning as the commission was codified in January 2022. And then July through October, I hope to complete the draft report so that we can send this draft report to the HRC, whether they support it or not. At least they received it by then. November, send the finalized draft to the mayor and city council, and then publish it November or December, as long as we publish it at the end of the year of 2020. So for phase two, some of the things that we've completed, I haven't put everything populated, all of it, but as of today, what we've completed in terms of the recommendations from phase one in 2022 was we were able to hire the senior education advisor, as well as update transparency. We're continuing. So a lot of this stuff is on the next page, which is ongoing. We're improving transparency for what the REP will be doing on our webpage, and I'm currently doing that. The second part that's ongoing and should be completed by 2022 is the selection committee, which we have Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Hawkins, and then Commissioner McDonald on selecting the
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
on
yes.
selecting the trainers or the facilitators for SLCPD, which would have a community-based lens and teach the history of policing, which was part of phase one recommendation. So that should be completed by this year. The other parts that we have been ongoing and we've been working on is, in the last few meetings, was reviewing the newly formed Park Rangers program and working with the Park Rangers program director. A huge thing that has been ongoing is the MOU renegotiation for the SROs with the senior education advisor. And then other work that has been going on is working with 911 dispatch on their training and having some kind of crossover with the training that we were kind of waiting for this selection for the diversity curriculum provider to happen in order to make more recommendations for other departments that directly work with communities of color. And then the other piece is working with the community detective who will introduce Detective Hadlock on attending the community meetings, which highlight the NHPI community, the Latino Coalition, refugee community, and I believe that there was a recommendation to start up one for African American community. So those were the ongoing things we've done here. And then the partnership that we've developed over this year with the Utah Courts Office of Fairness and Accountability, have been doing phase 2. And then, so I know this is a lot of wording, remember this is a draft, so I just wanted to introduce all of this to you so that you know I'm compiling it, and I will have later finalized drafts to you later this month. But possible new recommendations from this year. The training subcommittee will recommend that final diversity community-based curriculum provider. And then the training subcommittee has been working with Carlos Sabuca. He came 2 meetings ago, I believe, from juvenile courts. And he has been sharing with them best practices in terms of the juvenile court system and how trying to how they receive juveniles and their best practices in trying not to in collecting data based on race and ethnicity. That's what I want to say. So they're sharing that, and they've been working with the training subcommittee to see how that could turn into trainings for SLCPD, or what would be able to, they would be able to recommend or work directly with the Utah courts. So that's in works and could be a possible recommendation at the end of the year. Then with the school safety subcommittee, I know that Jennifer Newell is drafting up a full SRO MOU, not a rewrite, but the version that she would like to share with all of us, and she's still working on that. And hopefully, I don't know, Chair, if you want to jump in on this, what that timeline would look like, but possibly a version at the end of this year. But again, it's a huge process, so it could take longer, and that's why it may not be a formal recommendation, but an ongoing one for the subcommittee to continue to review those changes. And then additional, again, we've talked about this with the school safety committee in terms of still providing additional fiscal support for PYP, Peer Corps, and other youth city programming, and then strengthening those relationships with SLCPD and other youth programming in the city. Those were what I gathered from our subcommittee. And then finally, the policy and practice subcommittee they've been working on in the last couple of meetings we were able to have is still following up on the request for the implicit bias study, possibly every 5 years, to be carried out by a third party. I think this is just me. I need to follow up with our internal group to make sure to talk with the chief about this, as well as they've been wanting to see what a study or evaluation would look like for crime reduction around gun violence and prevention. And then studying and reevaluating the racial and ethnic categories in data collection, which would include, since we've heard from NHPI, as well as the missing, murdered, and Indigenous women groups of looking at what are the national best practices for including those definitions within racial and ethnic categories in Salt Lake City. And I think that this extends further than SLCPD. There's things that we're working on as a equity and inclusion on the city level, of looking at how data is collected and how these categories are affecting what we can measure. So that was part of what policy and practice subcommittee was going on. And then the last part was evaluating and setting national best practices for policies for policing in Newark, New Jersey. I've been collecting information on this, and I know a couple of the commissioners have more information on this, but in our last meeting that we were supposed to have this past Monday, I'll send out information of what I've collected from that, and you all can review in the subcommittee. We can also make more, see what we gather from those evaluations and studying those best practices. And then that's what I have for today.
Is the RP site live?
No, it's live right now in what it used to be, but we're currently, by September, we'll be able to have it online. In the form that is more transparent and how you can just click a button to, there are parts and pieces of it in terms of like what you all have been doing. I'll be able to upload it and then the videos there. We all have, all these videos are, you're able to go on YouTube and access them, but we kind of want a one-stop shop. Right now, it's just a lot of words. And all of your names are on there. So if you don't have your photos, can you send them? Because as we're compiling your bios and pictures, we just want to humanize the page so we know who the folks are who have been actually doing the work for the last couple of
You
years.
have a link to the page?
Yeah, I can send that through the email.
And were you sending out a copy of that deck that you just presented, or was that just for?
No, that was just for today, and then I will send out the version after I talk with the vice chair and chair. We'll send out the version that we'll send to the Human Rights Commission for October. And then, of course, everybody will view it before we even send it to the mayor and city council.
Awesome, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions? Also, if I missed something, I've taken pretty good notes, but I also am human, so if anybody remembers something that we've had in our past meetings, let me know, because I do want to make sure that I capture your all's recommendations for the entire year and making sure that they're included. So if I have, let me know and just send me an email.
Moana, Detective Hadlock is on the line.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks, Chair. I'll give the time back to you.
Yeah, does anyone have any other questions, comments about the draft report? Okay, well, thank you so much for your work on that, Moana. And I think we'll turn the time over to Detective Hadlock. Welcome.
Hey, thanks guys. Thanks for having me on here tonight. So I'm just letting you guys kind of know who I am. I'm Detective Hadlock with Salt Lake. I recently took over the position of Dustin Parks, who is our community outreach civilian. And so we kind of changed it around, and now it's going to be it's an officer, it's a sworn position. So that's going to be my position. So I'll just be working with the community and just kind of bridging those gaps and coming up with different outreach things that we can do and can work with the city on. And that's kind of what I'm doing. So if you guys have questions or anything like that, ideas, concerns, anything, you can bring them to me. You can email me or call me. I can put that in the chat, just so you guys all have that information.
And along with just what Detective Hadlock is saying is the communities that were previously visited with, now I'm forgetting names, Dustin Parks. If you all want to start participating in those, Detective Hadlock will provide a list of the dates that are the different communities, and I think it would be a really nice connection of going in and listening to folks just on the ground in these larger meetings.
Yeah,
That'd be
so
great.
we have the Latino Coalition meetings that we do on the second Wednesday of every month. And then we have the refugee community that we're starting back up. That one, we don't have a date set for it, but it's coming up. And Moana and I are working on with like the Polynesian and the Pacific Islander group. We're going to start that up again soon. So we've got different community members coming and doing those kind of events too. So we'll have those and we'll continue. We're going to also try to work with the Black community and see if we can get something together with Captain Zayas and kind of form a group like that. So we're just kind of piecing it all together. And with COVID, Dustin Parks kind of had to stop for a little bit. So now we're just going to pick that back up and it'll start ramping up soon.
Detective Hadlock, there are also leaders in the Black community that are on this call as well. So if you want me to connect with you to them, they also have, connections on the ground.
Yeah,
And I believe
that'd be awesome. If you could do that, that'd be super, super helpful for me. Thank you.
Can we get an email about when this is gonna take place? And with individual communities, because sometimes there's a lot of intersectionality between the communities, so like I may be interested in what's happening within the African American Black community, but I may also want to know what's happening with our AAPI community as well. Just to make sure that we have some intersectionality and cost. We know that we're all in this together, you know, so. I may
Absolutely.
participate.
Yeah, I'll send my, just right here in the chat bar, I'll just send my email address and my work phone, my desk phone, and you guys can reach out to me that way and maybe shoot me an email, and we can start getting that going, because that'd be great. Yeah, I don't mind sharing all of that information so everybody can be involved.
Do you, and I don't know if you do, just asking, do you have a separate for maybe our LGBTQ community at all?
Sorry, are you asking, do we have a meeting, a group set up for that?
Yeah.
No, as far as I know, we don't, but I know Detective Grady also works with kind of more in that area. I'm not exactly sure what she does, and I know she's probably going on baby leave here soon, so I'll touch base with her, but we can look into that. Definitely.
Yeah, because our LGBTQ, especially with our transgender youth, have been targeted. And we want to make sure that we have resources and outreach available for them as well.
Sorry, I just sent you my email address, and yes, I will definitely look into that, and we can touch base on that soon.
I don't see the email. I think it's because it went to you, Moana.
You're right. Sorry, it did send it to Moana. So I can just let you guys know it, and you guys can write it down. So it's pretty simple. It's just SLCPD outreach at slcgov.com. Again, that's SLCPD outreach at slcgov.com. And my phone number is 801-799-3367.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
now we'll have the notes, Commissioner McDonald, too, in our notes for you with all this information.
Excellent. Thank you.
Another thing I wanted to know is Ashley Cleveland will, the deputy director for community outreach here in our office, will be attending all the meetings. So the question that you had, Commissioner McDonald, of making sure that intersectionality lens. It'll also be kind of funneled through our office just to make sure that information is passed on. And I'll work directly with her for the meetings that I won't be able to attend, so we can have updates on that as well.
Perfect. Any other questions for Detective Hadlock? No, seeing none. Thank you so much, Detective Hadlock, for being here tonight. I look forward to hearing about all the activities you end up doing with your group.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me on here, you guys. Have a good night.
You too. Next up is the Mayor's Office Equity and Inclusion Team update. And I'm guessing that is also you, Moana.
Yeah, I will pass the baton to Michelle. I just wanted to introduce her. And Michelle is currently our equity liaison for the equity and inclusion team. And she'll be providing this update about all the work. I know that we were supposed to have this, it's been on the agenda for about 3 months. So some things have changed. I think it's just we want to contextualize the work that the REP has been doing in terms of equity and inclusion for the city overall. So I'll pass the time on to Michelle.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to meet most of the commission virtually, and I look forward to working with you all. So starting with the Salt Lake City Mayor's Office of Equity and Inclusion, our Chief Equity Officer is Coletta Lynch. Oh, there we go. And beginning with just a definition that was developed by the SLC Finance, our Chief Equity Officer, and HR&A consultants. So equity in Salt Lake City is acknowledging and addressing historic and current disparities experienced by our residents, employees, businesses, neighborhoods, and visitors. Salt Lake City provides access to resources and opportunities that support everyone in overcoming barriers to their success so that our community today and generations of tomorrow can thrive. So for our office, our mission statement is as follows. The Salt Lake City Mayor's Office of Equity and Inclusion engages with city staff, elected officials, and the public to provide education, policy recommendations, and technical assistance related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The office provides toolkits, best practices, and support to encourage the use of an equity lens for fair and just distribution of resources, access to services, and opportunities. And these are the members of our team. So here on the slides, we have Coletta Lynch, which is our current Chief Equity Officer. And she oversees the development and implementation of the citywide equity plan, which is ongoing as of now. And then we have Moana, who is our equity manager. And she manages, as you all know, the Racial Equity and Policing Commissions, as well as the Human Rights Commission. And right beside her is myself. I am the equity liaison, and I assist with diversity, equity, inclusion proclamations, the management of social media. And now I'm working with the commissions alongside Moana. And then we have Darby. Darby is our equity coordinator for special projects. She manages the Government Alliance for Racial Equity Ambassadors Program, also known as GARE. And then we have Ashley, our ADA coordinator. So she manages just the accessibility and disability commissions, as well as any complaints that come through as it's related to ADA. Then we have Maria, who is our executive assistant, or she's executive assistant to the Chief Equity Officer, and assists us in our various needs as well as the Director of Homeless Policy and Outreach. And she also serves as the intern coordinator. And then we have Fatima, who is our policy advisor for refugees and new Americans. So currently she is coordinating the Know Your Neighbor volunteer program with the state refugee office. And then lastly, we have Roxana, who is our language access coordinator, who coordinates interpretation and translation services citywide, and also oversees the language access plan. So here we have just some of the things we have accomplished since we became a team. So Moana, did you want me to read this through all of it? Or
You don't have to, Michelle. We just want to show kind of within the last year. I think going back to the slide before, Michelle, I just want to emphasize that the team that was created was all created within a year under the direction of Coletta Lynch. And sometimes when I see everybody in this space, it just reminds me, and I think Nicole and those folks that have worked with us for many years, we always had one person that was on this team, and now we have a whole group of people working towards equity. So that's the part where we're excited for where the direction this is going. And it is just a foundation, we know, but the next slide, Michelle. And then I'll go to Commissioner McDonald, who had a question. Just these are all the things that have happened within the year that Coletta has brought our team together and that we've been working on. So Commissioner McDonald, you had a question?
Can we get these changed to black? Because I can't read this.
Okay, yeah. I'll read some of them off, Commissioner McDonald, so you can know some of the highlights, and I'll give that feedback to make them black. that the language access task force and report and joint resolution was passed within this year. We finally codified the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women ordinance. We've also codified this commission, codified the Accessibility and Disability Commission, and then we have been revamping the whole Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion monthly newsletter and website so that it's more accessible and people who want to get services can access them. And then been running the gentrification study, helping and supporting that, as well as resident food equity advisory program. So there's been a wide range of things that has come out of this past year in a very short amount of time to build the foundation for equity work into the future. So I will make that note. Thank you, Commissioner McDonald. About
Are we
making
gonna
that.
get a copy of these studies? Like, I would be, I mean, I'm interested in all of it, but I am definitely interested in this gentrification levy of law.
Oh, yeah, they're about to release it, so as soon as I do, I'll send it out to both commissions.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Michelle.
And here we have a list of things that are, upcoming within our office. Sorry. So we do have the language sorry, guys. Okay, so our language access, we will finalize the administrative policy. Along with that, we do hope to have language access liaisons. We already do have ADA liaisons and care ambassadors. We're gonna launch the equity ambassador team to implement the citywide equity master plan, and that we're also in the works. Currently, we're trying to develop the framework for city departments to integrate equity across department policy, programming, staff recruitment, and development, as well as community engagement. With that, we plan to have different toolkits, templates, and training recommendations. The earned legitimacy and relationship building internally and externally. So that includes affinity groups, employee resource groups, the REP Commission, HRC, and the ADC. We also hope to have honorariums for volunteers/incentives for employees, pay equity, food equity, gentrification study, and inclusive language versus deficit language. Do you have anything to add to that, Moana?
No, these are all upcoming, so as we receive the different studies, we'll share them out, as well as any new developments, especially for the toolkits, templates, and trainings that will come out of our office after the equity study is completed at the end of the year. So hopefully when we have the website, the vision is when the website is up, all of these all of these different studies will be able to just at a click of a button connect us to wherever they are, and the data will be out facing and available to you all for Salt Lake City.
And lastly, we do have our social media pages, which I do help to manage. So make sure that you follow us and let any of your networks know to follow us as well, because we are staying up to date with our website and social medias. And I think that's it.
All right, thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. Any questions for Michelle? Okay, let's move on to the subcommittee chair updates.
Chair, since I already updated,
Right.
I just like to see what I shared with, unless anybody else wants to jump in. No,
No.
everyone said no.
I know I need to hook up with Jennifer Newell and work on the MOU. I'm in trial prep next week and trial all week the week after. So I might be a bit delayed until that first week of September. Unless by some miracle that the trial resolves next week. Send thoughts and prayers. And I can get started sooner. Okay, well, I think that is it. Does anyone have any other questions, comments before we end this meeting?
No?
No,
All right. Well, I hope to see you all soon in person. Sorry, my health issue is keeping me from coming out and hanging out with you guys. Hopefully that'll be resolved soon. But I hope to see everyone next time. All right. Thank
make
you
it
all.
better. Okay,
Thank you.
see ya.